कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, PM wants lease costs reduced, COVID-19 screening for all inbound vessels, and huge interest rate reductions unlikely.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Smith.
Talks are underway to reduce various fees and charges for leasing Itaukei land, with agriculture seen as having the most potential after tourism. Resolving lease issues has become a priority. Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama says the government is already moving in this direction.
The Itaukei Land Trust Board and the Lands Ministry have been instructed to address costs involved in securing plots.
There's been an issue with regard to some money that need to be paid for lease approval. But we've talked with, as I said in Parliament, we've talked with the CEO to bring all those prices down.
According to Bainimarama, availability of land for large-scale agriculture is not the problem. It's more to do with delays at the administrative level.
There's a whole lot of land available for agriculture. And we are talking with TLTB and the CEO and his officials, and of course with the Minister for Lands to make all those lands available.
Lands Minister Chone Usamate in Parliament last week confirmed that quicker turnover is a must.
Access to land and speed of access to land is critical, and so the Ministry is now revising all of its core Pareto processes. We intend to reduce processing timelines and to get rid of wasted.
The Prime Minister warns, however, that large-scale farming will bring little returns without any secondary processing.
There's a whole lot of talk of putting a lot of money in agriculture, which is good. But we have to be careful that we don't put that agriculture don't do too much output. We need to do value adding, because if you plant a hell of a lot of ndalo and have a lot of ngona, all the price will come down.
Following the downturn in the tourism industry, many Fijians are hoping agriculture can pick up the slack. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Cargo ships that are coming into the country pose no COVID-19 risks to Fijians, assures Health Minister Dr. Ifiremi Wanganambete. Dr. Wanganambete told FBC News that no crew members on board these ships are allowed on land, and if they do so, they need to serve a 14-day quarantine period. Sainiani Boiler reports.
All cargo ships must undergo necessary quarantine checks and only after receiving approval from the Health Ministry are allowed to offload the containers.
There is none of those who are coming into the country. They are first of all assessed. Our team goes into the ships, they assess them to find out if anyone is unwell or not. They are not allowed to actually get onto the land, so they remain on the ship. If there is any instance where someone needs to come ashore, they have to serve 14 days quarantine plus test as the procedure we have in place. So there is no risk to the community at large.
Some of this shipment comes from countries affected by the COVID-19. However, Dr. Wanganambete assures they are all safe.
These are all containerized ships, so there is no handling that happens. So these are all containerized ships. They're put onto the ships by container, they come off the ships by container, so there is no risk.
The Fiji Ports Corporation Limited says the COVID-19 restriction protocols are in place and observed at all times.
So the Fiji port is not basically like, our job is basically facilitate this trade, but the items that are coming and how it is basically what type of items, whether it is suitable, unsuitable, all those things are monitored by other agencies such as Biosecurity, Ministry of Health, and also their duty and everything is handled by customs.
The Public Health Act has been revised to allow the Health Ministry powers to approve all freight ships before they are allowed to unload cargoes. Sainiani Mboila, FBC News.
The Association of Banks says people should be realistic about their expectation with regards to interest rates being reduced during this pandemic. President Saad Manam says they're working closely with the Reserve Bank and the Economy Ministry to ensure everyone's plea is taken into account as many Fijians are facing financial constraints. Koroi Tandulala reports.
While the banks are looking at reducing the interest rates, Saud Minam says they need to consider all the risk factors.
Expecting anything 2%, 3%, I can tell you right now, I don't think that's going to be possible. We have to understand that, yes, we have to take the risk. It's not only about the customer risk, it's about the portfolio risk, it's about the country risk as well. So all those risk factors are involved in it, but coming in near future, you may be seeing some reduction in terms of the interest rate.
If you look at the interest rate around around us, like New Zealand, Australia, other places, the same Westpac, ANZ, the counterparts in Australia and New Zealand, their rates are low.
Saud Minam says banks are not in a profession to repossess properties and they will continue to support their customers going forward.
Yes, we are part of the Association of Banks in Fiji. All the banks have agreed. All the banks have come out and reduced charges and reduced the interest rates.
The banks' profit margin in Fiji is high, and they make money and they repatriate in money back to their shareholders overseas. I think this thing has to be seriously looked at.
The Association of Banks will continue to hold meetings with businesses, individuals and relevant stakeholders to provide them the best solutions during these trying times. Corey Tandulala, FBC News.
The Ministry of Waterways is unaware of the complaints made by the residents of Veiraisi settlement in Nandera, Nasino, regarding poor drainage, which has led to pollution. The residents claim they have lodged numerous complaints over the years about the creek in the settlement, which gives a foul smell and overflows during heavy rain. Venina Rakautonga has more.
These residents from this informal settlement have been enduring this health hazard for years and claim their concerns have fallen on deaf ears. We get the full brunt when it rains or when it floods, and the quality of the water has been making us sick.
We got dengue fever here, and people throwing the diapers all around there. We still have made the meeting.
Residents say the health of their kids are also at risk.
The drainage spelling is very bad because small kids staying here, and the health of the kids is a future of the country.
Sometimes I worry for my children going out because it is very risky. The way the creek looks and smell, it is really not good for the environment for our family to grow up in.
Ministry of Environment and Waterways Permanent Secretary Joshua Wycliffe says they are unaware of the issue and is urging the residents to give them full details of where they filed the complaint.
As far as I'm concerned, we haven't heard. So I'd like to know if there is a name of the department and name of the staff they spoke to. If not, give me a contact number so I can speak to them or get somebody to go immediately.
Wycliffe says while they are waiting for further details on the complaint lodged, he will be sending inspectors from the ministry to inspect the area. Venina Rakautonga, FBC News.
Up ahead, Thai-level Provincial Council holds scholarships. And Castaway Island Resort staff happy to return to work.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
The Thai-level Provincial Council will not provide scholarships to students studying at various local institutions until next year. Chair Rusiate Tunravu says due to the social gathering restrictions and other challenges brought by the pandemic, they are unable to hold their annual bazaar this year. Josai Nunga has more.
The Provincial Council will only accommodate tuition for the first half of the year, where they've spent over $60,000.
What they are wanting to clarify if that fund, the approval can be brought down to the Provincial Council level, to the Rokotui, so that he can give it easy access for us. But as I've already stated in the meeting, we'll discuss further with the Ministry of KFS, the Permanent Secretary, in regards to that.
Despite the decision made by the Council, Tunravu says they are reviewing the processes involved in the disbursement of funds for future undertakings.
We cannot fully distribute a scholarship in the second semester. It's because of the COVID thing that is done. So we have halted that, and then now distribution will be done in the next semester, that is 2021.
FBC News spoke with the Telehu student representative while opting to remain anonymous, said 71 students being sponsored this year will explore other opportunities of sponsorship. These include 12 students at USP, 21 studying at FNU, 13 with CATD in Nandawe, 9 students studying agriculture in the Wuso, 2 with aviation and MLTC, 4 students with UniFiji, and 1 studying at Corpus Christi. Chosai Yananunga, FBC News.
The reopening of Castaway Island Resort came as a relief for its staff, as many were without work for almost 4 months. During the closure, staff returned home and focused on supporting their families through other means, but remained hopeful to return and serve their guests soon. Felipe Naikaso has more.
Keep trying.
32-year-old James Tamanikaya Roy was one of the staff who returned home when the resort closed its doors in March, but the father of 2 says this did not deter him from providing for his family in Nosori.
I never give up, so that's one thing I learned from this pandemic. If worse comes to worse, keep trying. After a few weeks I went out and started doing some farming.
While majority of the staff was sent home, around 20 stayed on the island as they could not get into Lautoka due to the lockdown at the time.
Been like 18 years we had gone through, and we have like with families we have good communication, and like with the kids not easy.
The staff have also praised the management for their continuous support during the 4 months.
Like for us that were still working on the island, we were still paid full payment, and the ones that have been asked to go home, they were paid 75% of pay.
But with guests back on the island, it's a different feeling now.
Oh, it's very satisfying. It's a long time we've been haven't seen guests, so a happy time for us here.
When the guests come back today on the island, it was very special day for me.
Around 60 staff are back at the resort, while 140 workers are still at home but paid by the resort. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
In an effort to assist the frontline healthcare workers during this difficult time, the Levuka-based Pacific Fishing Company Limited today donated food items to the Health Ministry. Company Chair Iqbal Janif says they recognize the hard work put in place by the healthcare professionals. The company donated over 40 cartons of canned fish. Ministry of Health Incident Management Team member Dr. Dashika Balak says the donation will be handed to the workers in the quarantine facilities.
This is going to actually really, relieve these frontline healthcare workers, because they have been working, overtime. They have been working day in, night out, and sometimes they don't have even proper meals to feed themselves. Sometimes they don't even have time. So at least this donation is going to assist them.
And turning overseas, sweeping restrictions are now in effect in Melbourne in an attempt to turn the tide on the COVID-19 surge. Australia's second largest city is now in total lockdown, as over 420 new cases have been recorded just in Victoria in the past 24 hours. With tighter measures set to come into force across the state, hope for Trans-Tasman bubble have been kicked down the road. And Whitney is here with the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. In business tonight, Minister optimistic about price reductions. And in growing Fiji, it's business as usual for PEFCO. Stay with us.
Pula nadang bawa prosesan ngerse, ngor keraki. Do televisi na barong na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Industry and Commerce Minister Fayaz Koya is optimistic that businesses will comply with the price reductions on 1,600 after tariff reductions came into effect. The revised taxes kicked in on Saturday, affecting products ranging from groceries, vegetables, white goods, clothing, machinery and other items. Koya says discussions with businesses have been fruitful and consumers can expect to see the benefits in coming days.
Look, at the end of the day, there's responsibility of the businesses first and foremost. I think most businesses will adhere to what's actually been been said. But just in case, we do have the FCCC to monitor so that the prices actually within the supermarket, so etc. that have been given within the budget. So I think it should be okay. But as I said earlier, most businesses are compliant and they should comply.
Vodafone Fiji has appointed Ronald Prasad as acting chief executive. Prasad has over 14 years' experience in the telecommunications and ICT industry and has been instrumental in the transformation journey to position Vodafone as a trusted and respected ICT solutions provider. He previously held chief commercial and operating officer positions in the company and has worked in both the public and private sectors. Board Chair Ajit Kodagora says Prasad has the right set of skills and expertise to take Vodafone Fiji to new heights. The appointment came into effect on Saturday. Former CEO Pradeep Lal moves on to his role as Regional Chief Executive, an appointment made in late 2017. Sharon from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest in the money markets.
On the South Pacific Stock Exchange last week, 10 listed entities recorded trade with 5 noting share price movements. As such, the total market value fell marginally by 0.84% and concluded the week at $3.46 billion. On the foreign exchange front, the Japanese yen and the Aussie dollar were in action, with economic data from China also of influence. The US stimulus package remained in focus ahead of the current unemployment benefits expiring today. In the week ahead, we have few key economic data and events lined up, with major focus being on the Reserve Bank of Australia's interest rate decision tomorrow, with Reserve Bank of India and Bank of England interest rate decisions due later in the week. Tension between US and China is another threat to risk appetite, so let's see how all the key data combined with growing political uncertainties shape our currency prices in the week ahead. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Looking at today's local exchange rates as set this morning, as started the new week, the Fijian Sangomoli rose against the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, the euro and the Japanese yen. It was down against the Chinese yuan, US dollar and the PNG kina. Looking at commodities, crude oil prices was down to $39.98 per barrel. Gold continued to climb and was at $1,975 per ounce, and silver was up, ending at $24.38 an ounce. While some businesses are still struggling to find the path forward due to the effects of the pandemic, the Levuka Pacific Fishing Company Limited says their operations continue as normal. PEFCO Chair Iqbal Janif says they have been able to retain all staff. Pranita Prakash has more.
While several businesses have been forced to lay off staff or reduce hours of their pay, PEFCO continues to employ its workers.
When we operate 2 shifts, obviously we require more people, but the people are readily available in Levuka, and most of them have worked for PEFCO in the past, so they are quite used to the work. So from that point of view, we are quite fortunate.
Iqbal Janif says neither the local nor the export markets have been affected.
There has been an increase in the last 4 to 6 weeks because we've been able to receive more fish. We're able to process that fish and return it to the US, to our customer, Bumblebee Seafoods.
PEFCO employs over 600 staff for a single shift, and the number increases to 1,000 for 2 shifts. The company is the only largest employer in the old capital. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
That's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Thanks, Whitney, and good evening. In Sports Tonight, no Skipper Cup von Rani Sinukula. And 4 football players cleared to play. Find out more after the break.
My name is Neha and I'm from Karavi, and Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
National Sevens rep Paulan Rani Sinukula has made it clear that he will not be part of the Skipper Cup competition this year. The Ra native is focusing on his recovery after sustaining an injury during the 2019-20 HSBC 7 series.
I made my decision on that. I'm still with physios right now and doing rehab due to injuries.
For the time being, he is assisting the Army rugby team as they prepare for the Suva Club competition.
Yes, for the timing for myself, I'm just back at the camp, back on duty, and just to assist the boys in getting prepared for their Escort City Club game.
Meanwhile, Suva players will not be taking any game for granted as they prepare for round 3 of the Skipper Cup competition. Captain Israeli Lendua is weary of the fast-paced rugby portrayed by the Jet Setters in their previous matches.
Well, we watched the Nandi team last week, the games against Yasawa, and they're really good, the young players, and they're really fast, and they're playing fast rugby, the Nandi team.
Suva will take on Nandi at Prince Charles Park on Saturday at 3 p.m. Karleni Tavi, FBC Sports.
Blues number 8 Akira Ioane put up an outstanding performance as they defeated the Highlanders 32-21 in Super Rugby Aotearoa. 4 players have been given the green light to play again after the Fiji Football Association Board lifted their suspensions for marijuana use. They include Osea Wakatalisao from Nandronga, Suba's Kini Mandingi, Valerio Nawatu from Lautoka, and Rewa's Amani Makoe. Akula Dhama has the details.
Fiji FA Chief Executive Muhammad Yusuf says very strong representation was made last week on behalf of the players by church elders, NGOs and community members when they appealed their suspensions.
We decided last week that we'll allow these appeals because all the appeal process, the church elders are involved, giving letters that these guys have reformed and they've suffered enough. They have all saved more than 50-60% of their sentence anyway. Valerio Nawatu is nearly completed.
Wakatalisao, McCoy and Nawatu were suspended since 2018, while Mandingi was banned from April last year after testing positive for marijuana. Yusuf adds the 4 players will now be championing the fight against drug use in football.
And we decided that we will use these players as ambassadors for drug-free sport. So they will now champion the cause. They will be also going to talking to the other players how much they have suffered, how much the family have suffered.
Valerio Nawatu, who was with Lautoka when he was suspended, is highly unlikely to feature at the Punja's Battle of the Giants tournament this week.
It's a little bit difficult for them to come into the system now on to have the match fitness. So we will see how it goes because to me, my understanding, they lack fitness, physical fitness, mental fitness, and game fitness as well.
The 4 will also be tested regularly now after serving about 70% of their suspension. Aquila Dhama, FBC Sports.
The Fiji National Rugby League will resume its 2020 season next weekend. The FNRL has received confirmation from the Fiji National Sports Commission that they are one of 6 sports that will receive accreditation soon. The first competition on the FNRL calendar is the Vodafone Cup.
The Vodafone Cup will kick off on the 15th of August at Provincial Park, and we'll be doing 5 hard-hitting matches that will wrap up with the main game between the Rava Rabbitohs and Saru Dragons.
Fiji Mbati winger Suliasi Vunivalu helped the Melbourne Storm to a 26-16 win over the Knights in their NRL clash last night, scoring the first try of the match. Netball Fiji has laid out a plan to ensure a new head coach is appointed before international competitions commence. This comes after the announcement of the 2020-21 national budget, where the Fiji National Sports Commission has allocated $200,000 for the Fiji Pearls coach.
Netball Fiji have been allocated $200,000 for their international coach.
We're setting a timeline of November, and then we'll see how it goes from there. If it might spill over into December, but we need to ensure the groundwork is done to bring in the best person possible for Netball Fiji. As soon as we were advised by the Fiji Sports Commission by the budget that we had allocation, we have now reviewed the terms of reference because of course everything would now have changed, and we've had to relook at the actual contract. And so once that's done, and we will put out the advertisement on all the different platforms that are available, and then we'll work from there.
Fiji has been invited to be a part of the Netball Singapore Nations Cup next year, and with the postponement of the Netball World Youth Cup, Netball Fiji remains focused on preparing a formidable team for future events. Karlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
In today's play of the day, the Canterbury Bulldogs may have lost to the Eels at Bankwest Stadium last night, but it was Bulldogs centre Jake Avarillo who stole the show with this acrobatics display. That's it from Sports Tonight.
Hi, Bula. I'm Selai from Nandi. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Angie is here now with today's weather update.
Bula, and welcome to the Weather World. It's a Monday with greatness in weather. The sun was incredible throughout the nation. Plus, it's a new month, so hope we have some changes to the weather pattern. Now moving to the west, it was clear and sunny, little humid as well, but manageable. The sun is always right here. Eastwards from Pakhama to Suva, sunny but with cool breezes. The night will have few showers. This could be overnight showers. And up north, much of the same weather pattern followed. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. Now turning to the tides, low tide at 12:35 a.m. with high tide at 6:45 a.m. Sunrise at 6:31. For tomorrow, there is likely chance for showers that will pass over the two main islands. Tomorrow's temps, Sabu Sabu will be the coolest at 28 degrees, while Lambasa will rise up to 32 degrees. And looking further on to Wednesday, the showers will gradually ease, making space for brighter and nicer spells. That's all the weather news from my end. Have a great evening. It's back to Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fiji and Pulse tonight, we asked, were you shocked to see Namosi beat Nandronga in the Fairbrother Challenge over the weekend?
No, I wasn't expecting Namosi to win.
I didn't expect Namosi to win the Fairbrother Trophy against Nandronga last week Saturday.
50-50. It depends on how they play the game.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, PM wants lease costs reduced, COVID-19 screening for all inbound vessels, and huge interest rate reductions unlikely. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question last week we had asked, with liquidity set to rise to $1 billion, should banks decrease interest rates? 71% said yes. And this week we're asking, should public transport have separate lanes during peak hour traffic? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day, first one for the week, the beautiful sunset setting was captured at Momi Bay by Selina Tokalau. And you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, our Facebook page FBC News, and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow from the team and I, stay safe. Bye for now.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.